Hi everyone, so I thought I would have a little devotional today. There was just something that I was reading and I thought that it was really interesting. And it has to do with how many excuses sometimes we try to come up with when we're trying to, I guess, not really get out of something that God's telling us to do, but because of our fear being so overwhelming, we tend to make these excuses to, I guess it's almost like to not have to do it, or to kind of maybe pass it on to the next person. Maybe, oh, they'll be able to do this for God. But let me explain exactly what I mean. So Moses had a really big job that God gave him. And this job was to go to Pharaoh and to demand that he release God's people. There was a lot of consequences that could have come out of that. Like, it was a pretty dangerous thing to do, but God wanted Moses to do it and wanted to use him as a human agency to help carry out his purpose. But when God told him that that's what he wanted him to do, Moses came up with 5 different excuses, basically saying that he was not the right person to do this and that he should go find somebody else. Basically, that's how he finished it in the end. But I wanted to go through these 5 excuses with you because when I looked at them, it really took me back, because I was like, wow, I have used these excuses before. And I don't know, God had a response for every single one of these. And I thought that this was really helpful for me, like going forward. And whenever I find that there's an opportunity for me to do something to minister for God and things like that, but my own fear gets in the way, my own insecurities get in the way. But it was really comforting to see the ways that God was able to respond to Moses when he had those exact same excuses. So I wanted to share them with you. So the first excuse that he mentions is in chapter 3. Sorry, I have a lot of, what are these called? Sticky notes. So I have a hard time finding things sometimes. So chapter 3, verse 11. So that is where the first excuse comes in. And this is what it says. And Moses said unto God, Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt? So what Moses was basically saying here is, I'm not good enough. That was his first excuse, is I'm not good enough. Like, who am I to be able to do something like this? Like, surely there's somebody better for this job than me. And God has a response to him, and he says, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee that I have sent thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. So what is God's response to Moses saying, I'm not good enough? His response is, I will be with you. Don't worry. So that was the first excuse. The second excuse is found in verse 13, and this is what it says. And Moses said unto God, mind you, this happened right after he gave him this reply. So Moses came up with another one, and he said, Behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, The God of your fathers has sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And so the second excuse that Moses used here was, I don't know what to say. That's in a nutshell what he was saying there. So I'm not too sure what to say. And then God has a response to that as well. God said unto Moses, I am that I am, he said, and thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. So God's response here was basically giving him an outline of what to say. They're going to, you're afraid you don't know what to say, but this is what you're going to tell them. So God gave him an answer. And I was kind of thinking, okay, so am I going to go up to somebody when people ask me that and just say, I am who I am has sent me? Right? Like, I was like, okay, so how am I going to apply this? Technically, yes, I could, but what I have here is an outline. Like, I'm literally holding it in my hands. Like, this is an outline of what I could say to someone. I don't know. I was thinking this plus my testimony. That's kind of what I came up with, because this knowledge, I have different Bibles for different things, and this one specifically I used when I was studying about the One True God movement, and I have all my tabs here of things that I guess are really commonly asked questions that a lot of people have asked me before, so I can just quickly flip to where I need to go when I want to explain it to somebody. That was excuse number 2. Excuse number 3 happens in chapter 4, and this one kind of goes with the last one, like my answers to it. and God's response is a little bit, I guess you can say, kind of similar. But this is what Moses said for his third excuse. He said, "But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord had not appeared unto thee." So his excuse number 3 is basically saying, okay, well, people won't believe me. Even if I tell them this, like, they will not believe me. And God responded by giving him proof and kind of giving him a testimony to share with people. So that's why I meant it's kind of similar, because, well, I kind of mentioned it. They're kind of interchangeable, I think, the response for these two. But this is what's the response. "And the Lord said unto him, What is that in thine hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it onto the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thy hand, and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand, and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand, that they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob hath appeared unto thee." So he gave him signs of proof and a testimony. We also have proof. You know, I believe in the Bible. This is my proof of certain things that I believe and the things that I hold to be true, as well as my personal testimony. And like I said before, like, that's something that nobody can take away from me, because I know there are certain things in my life that I was not able to get out of by myself, and nothing worked out until I trusted in God and let him lead any decisions or actions that I decide to take. So he will provide us with the proof, truth, and our testimony as well to share with people. And, you know, in the end, you know, some people, they won't believe you, but some people will. So that's what's really important. So the fourth excuse is a very popular one, and I used this a lot before I became comfortable with it. And it's found in verse 10. And it says, "And Moses said unto the Lord, O my Lord, I am not eloquent, nor since thou hast spoken unto thy servant, but I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue." What Moses is saying here is, I am a terrible public speaker. I felt that before I was extremely nervous to do any type of public speaking. I don't know, I'm not too sure when I became more comfortable with it. Probably in high school, definitely in my undergrad at university. I was able to do presentations and things, but when it came to Bible stuff, for some reason I was more nervous than when I was talking about science things or psychology or doing seminars on those. But when it came to things of the Bible, for some reason I was more nervous, and I slowly got over it over time. But this is what God's reply was to Moses when he said, I am a terrible public speaker. "And the Lord said unto him, Who hath made man's mouth? Or who maketh the dumb or deaf or the seeing or the blind? Have I not the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say." It's very clear what God's response was there. And, you know, Moses said, I'm a terrible public speaker. God's response was, I will teach you what to say. And along with I will teach you what to say, don't forget who I am. And who was God? He was the one who made man's mouth. And he started to list all these different things. And I guess in the end, I think that my fear, came from other people judging me, or just, I don't know. It was just anybody else who has a fear of public speaking like I did kind of understands what I'm talking about, but and just being really nervous what to say. And make sure I'm saying it properly, make sure I'm not talking too fast, which I still do. But I think here, always remembering who God is and remembering his power, and like, he's stronger than anybody. So when it comes to public speaking, I start to think like, it's okay, God's on my side. I know I have this fear, and I know that people can judge me, and I know it can be judged, but God is greater than anybody. And if he's with me, I will be okay. It'll be fine. So that was excuse number 4. Excuse number 5 is found in verse 13. So right after that, the last thing he says to him is, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by thine hand of him whom thou wilt send. It's not very clear what he's saying here, but what he is saying there is, I am not qualified. please go find someone else, anybody but me. That's the best way that I can translate that, is I'm not qualified. So in the end, just find somebody else. And God's response to that one, he starts to get a little bit upset with Moses. And this is what he said. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. And he said, is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? I know that he can speak well. And also, behold, he cometh forth to meet thee. And when he seeth thee, he will be glad in his heart. And what this verse is saying to me here is God has so much faith in us. He even gave Moses another human agency to help him out. Like, mind you, yes, I think that God will, to a certain point, he will give us all the opportunities, but at some point he will have to give it to somebody else, right? Because he needs his job to be done. And if I don't want to do it, there's going to be somebody else who is willing to do it. But he will not give up on us. And I don't know, I just feel like this verse here, God even, like I said, he sent another person to be with Moses, another human agency to help him in the things that God knew that, okay, maybe he might have a little bit more trouble with this, or things that Moses really felt insecure about. So what I really liked in this is it shows how much God has faith in us to be able to carry something out. He even gave Moses another human agency, his brother, who was very good with public speaking, to help Moses with his insecurity, for Moses to still get God's job done. So basically, with all of these different things, I just find it amazing how any excuses that we can come up with, they're just not big enough for God. Like, God's just like, what are you doing? Like, you can, with him, we can do everything. God is understanding, which is why he was able to explain to Moses, not once, not twice, 3, 4, 5 times, having to repeat certain things to Moses, and to just kind of give him answers, to try to calm him, to really support him. But I'm glad he did, because, and it was really weird, because I was like, I'm almost glad that Moses came up with all these excuses, because now I can see those excuses and relate to each and every single one of them, and anything that I come across with now, I have an answer to. And that is something that I really love about the Bible. And even some characters, I know some people have said to me, like, oh, if I was Moses, I wouldn't have done that, or I would have just done this. But I am grateful for this, because, like I said, I learned so much from other people's, I don't really want to call them like mistakes, but a lot of wisdom is gained inside of this book. And I just love learning from it and hearing all these different scenarios and different things that Moses came up with. It really covered the basics of almost any excuse that somebody can give, and God has a reply for that. I don't know. I just thought that it was something really, really interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. Just for us to think about, maybe throughout the week. I know that this is something that I'm going to be doing for the next month, is when I do have a thought in my head, or any one of these sort of come up, like, I'm going to try to go back to whatever response God said to Moses and really, like, ingrain that inside my head over and over again. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to it. So I hope that this was interesting. I'm not sure if you've heard of these excuses before, like in the book of Moses, the way that it was explained. So yeah, I hope that it was helpful, or at least interesting to sort of think about as you go throughout your week, or like myself, throughout the rest of the month. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and yeah, take care.